Hakainde is leading with at least 5,539 votes, and also followed by the NRPUP
All right.
Brian
So,
Mundubile,
Brian,
with
sorry to cut you there. So maybe let's focus on the parliamentary level and at National Assembly level and local government level. We understand that the Election Commission of Zambia will be announcing the first batch of results at presidential level. If you could tell us maybe what the update is at National Assembly and local government level, what is it looking like? We know that in a nearby district, in Livingston district, we heard from our reporter Miriam that the polling agents there and those from the totaling center have decided to call it a night and resume counting of votes tomorrow. But what are we seeing at National Assembly and local government level over there?
Okay, so right now, the ones that have been verified under National Assembly and Mearo level, those are the results that I have so far. It's just up to 10 out of 69 polling stations that have been verified and given to us with the other observers and the stakeholders. Those are the results that we have, and they haven't even reached an extent of even declaring. Nobody has been declared so far.
Okay. And in as far as the observers are concerned, and even just the various candidates, have we been able to see them, make their presence around the totaling center, just to witness and observe what exactly is going on through the counting of the votes?
Okay, the situation currently is that after that announcement of suspending the counting of the votes, everyone had left the totaling center, and just when we resumed this evening, now we are just waiting. Though the momentum here is peaceful, and we just have people, not a lot of people that you can maybe count in multitudes. They're just a few observers, stakeholders, others that are from the EU, as well as the media. I think they're representing the media. I'm just alone here. The situation is quite calm, Jamaica.
Well, very, very hardworking of you to be the only media person present, isn't it, Chester?
It is. Also, could you tell us, there were incidents of violence across the country, in some parts of the country, a little earlier. What was the situation like in
with
Kazungula
this extraordinarily
South?
important
In that
midterm
area,
election
did you
coming up, and
experience
of course
any
the even more
pockets of violence in some of the polling stations that you have visited?
No violence has been recorded or reported up to now from the time that the polling stations started voting yesterday. Up until now, there's been total peace, and Kazungula, of all the years, whenever there's a poll, we've never had serious incidences of violence. And even this one, I can tell you that there's nothing at the moment that has been reported seriously or not ever serious.
All right, before we let you go, Brian, still on Kazungula district, I mean, good to know that the historic background has not been able to see, violence or, chaos getting to erupt. But what are some of the unique challenges within the district that could influence the vote that we'll be able to officially hear of in a bit at National Assembly and local government level? What have been the unique challenges that could influence how people voted yesterday?
Come again?
What are some of the things that the residents of Kazungula will be hoping to see in the next 5 years from the leaders that will be elected and announced as the official winners? What are some of the challenges that are commonly faced there that could have influenced how they voted yesterday?
Yeah, we interacted with a few voters yesterday in their polling stations, and most of the main challenge that we're talking about is the issue of road networks across the constituents. And now that some of them, they also said they were happy seeing that Kazungula or Katombola was delimited into two constituencies, and they are looking forward to see how CDF is going to be utilized in the two constituencies, and especially on the road network, and as well as water in some parts of the district. There is still a challenge that other people still walk distances to fetch water, and those are some of the issues that they are talking about, and they want to see that they are rectified by the leaders, that that will definitely emerge as winners after the count and declarations of the results.
All right, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we'll surely be getting back to you as the night progresses. Chimweka, let's get to Gabriel Josias Muva, who is in a constituency. My director,
Joma,
would like
Joma, the provincial capital of Southern Province. Good evening. I think as somebody who has been a spokesperson during the period of the campaigns, I think men would agree that he hasn't been as vocal as before, as present, especially through the media, as before. What has it been like within the constituency? What have you been getting as the mood and the feeling from the people, considering the fact that this is a man who was a member of parliament within the constituency for the last 5 years?
In Choma Central, Chimweka is quite neutral, but too early to determine and to perhaps give opinion right now, because we understand that the results are still being verified. But it is, like I said, it's a bit tricky to give an opinion on UPND candidate Cornelius Mwetwa, because he does face tough competition. I should be very honest, from what we've seen on the ground from Beka Chakwana, who is running for independent. And this is why, like I said earlier, there were tempers that rose in the totaling center, because his results were announced, for Beka Chakwana, and the polling agents really were furious about this. And this, as we speak, has led to the fresh verification of all parliamentary results. Of course, there are other concerns that perhaps even the presidential results should be verified again, but guidance has been given that only the parliamentary results should be verified and later announced. So all the wards, imagine Choma Central constituency has 87 polling stations. All these polling stations will be verified, but at the time that the incident happened, the officials here had verified and announced results from about 29 polling stations. So the 29 will have to start again following that mistake by officials. Of course, the matter has been resolved. There is total understanding in the chambers as we speak, and the exercise for fresh verification and announcement has begun. Chimweka.
Before I let you go, Gabriel, let's also talk about the constituencies. I mean, you've 3 constituencies within Joma district, and we understand that one common, experience within the southern province is a number of independent candidates, a number of people, some of them who had come through from the United Party for National Development, decided to contest on an independent ticket. What has the playing field been like? There, have we recorded any incidents of violence during the process of campaigning leading up to voting day yesterday?
Recorded any violent case in Choma district, but we have monitored a few pockets in our neighboring Mons, to be specific, Wengwa. You are aware that the ECZ had picked up a few people in relation to the violence. But in Choma Central, Choma South and Babala constituency, we haven't had any incident. And business has resumed as we speak right now. Yesterday was a very busy day dedicated for voting. All the shops around business in Choma were closed. If you were looking for something else at yesterday, you couldn't because people had gone for vote. Today, business has resumed. Of course, we wait, announcement of results, which we hope later will be given as fresh, start to the verification has so far started. But in terms of political violence, Choma has been very peaceful, totally peaceful, Chumweka.
Well, good to know that the Choma district has been peaceful. That's the expectation of the electorate, and it's the expectation of the country that it remains peaceful. And a little later, we'll be going back to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, but we still have our correspondents giving us what they have and as far as results are concerned. Let's go to Rachel Mumba, who is now in Kasama Central. I'd like to speak to you, Rachel. What is the latest in Kasama? Over 50,000 registered voters in this part of the country, 84 polling stations. How many of these polling stations have brought in their results to the totaling center? What are you getting? What is the picture with the results? And has tallying begun?
Yes, indeed, tallying has begun here at Kasama Boys Secondary School, which is a totaling.
Okay, we'll get back to Rachel soon, but as you can see on your screen there, the National Elections Results Center, which is at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. This is where the Electoral Commission of Zambia is expected to make the announcement of the first batch of results. And I don't know just if I saw clearly, but that looked like Mr. Maximue, who just passed right in front of the camera from the United Party for National Development, probably one of the accredited members of the ruling party. Earlier, our reporter Darius Jonia, who is at the Elections Results Center, did give us an update. There is again, I guess, but did give us an update. Darius did give us an update that we have representation coming through from the different political parties, but mainly coming through from the Tonse Alliance as well as the United Party for National Development. And it seems from the run up to the voting day yesterday, so many people have seen the NRP-UP through the Tonse Alliance and the UPND as the front liners, the front runners, beg your pardon, of this year's general election, and a lot of anticipation for these results to be announced. I mean, we're looking at 24 minutes now, past 22 hours, still waiting for the Electoral Commission of Zambia to give the update tonight in as far as what the results are looking like at a national level.
Now, as we wait declarations from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, this is what Parliament, Jumweka, will look like and as far as the 226 elective constituencies. And you will have, of course, the 2026 constitutional seats standing at 20 for the women. 15 youths will be represented in the House, and you have proportional representation there of 5 persons also with living with disabilities will also have 5 seats in the 226 constituencies. That's a picture there of what your National Assembly will look like
Yep. So
this year.
what we're looking at there is 266. So that's the 226 elected members of parliament from the 226 constituencies, plus the 40 proportional seats, as you've rightly mentioned, 20 for women, 15 for the youths, and 5 for persons with disabilities, making it 266. But let's get to our next reporter, who's in Chisamba, central province of Zambia. We have Josephat Hamagala to give us an update. Josephat, what are things looking like in Chisamba as of this evening?
Oh, thank you so much. So here in Chisamba, actually, the results have been announced, and we've seen President Hakainde Hichilema, getting about 6,566 votes here in Chisamba, and it was being followed by Brian Mundiwili of NRPUP with about 3,180 votes. And it was actually we saw a number of supporters that were actually here from both the NRPUP and from the UPND. Both of them were actually celebrating when the results were actually being announced. But we could also see from the NRPUP, supporters being in denial when the votes were actually being announced, because we would see them still flashing their symbol in the air, despite their candidates, coming second in the, in the election. And also we saw from the parliamentary race, Martin Choa of the UPND as well scooped the position, has been elected as the Member of Parliament for Chisamba constituency with about 7,246 votes, and he was also being followed by NRPUP Martin Stefan Kunde with about 2,476 votes. So far here in Chisamba, we've seen the UPND getting the parliamentary seat, and as we are still waiting also just to hear from the other results that will be coming out shortly on the council level and the council chairperson, that will be announced later on this evening here at the Totaling Center. But most of the supporters have actually left, and have actually gone somewhere else to celebrate the victory of the incoming Member of Parliament for Chisamba constituency.
Josephat, what was the atmosphere like in terms of, have you spotted any incidences of violence last couple of hours today?
But it has actually been so peaceful from the day of elections until today, when the results actually been announced. It has been so peaceful. People have just been been celebrating on their own, because before the results were actually announced, we saw two groups, both the UPND and the NRPUP, celebrating on their own, on their own corners like that, and no one was actually fighting the other until the results were announced, and they all left the Totaling Center, going back to to their centers after everything was actually announced.
All right, so looking at the announcement of this particular winner here, you did mention that there have been multiple reactions. Are we already getting any indications for the candidate that came out second, or any other candidate, those who may feel aggrieved? What exactly are they saying about this result?
The UPND candidate, is actually, happy, to have come out first. And he's actually saying that on top of his agenda, he wants to make sure that he brings development here in Chisamba, and he's making sure that he's going to implement the UPND manifesto. But from the NRPUP candidate, he wasn't even around when the results were actually being announced. He was nowhere to be seen, except for the UPND candidate who was around here at the Totaling Center when everything was actually being announced.
All right, Josephat Hamagala, thanks a lot. We'll be getting back to Chibombo for more details, but would like to, in Chisamba, Josephat is in Chisamba. We'll be getting to Rachel Mumba now, Ejimweka, who is currently in Kasama. We did try to speak to her a little earlier. Rachel, could you now give us a picture of Kasama Central? I was asking you if the tallying of results has started in Kasama.
The tallying of results has started in Kasama, and there's been a lot of headway that has been made so far since the suspension was lifted. there's about 84 polling stations here in Kasama Central, and 42 results have been announced so far. And the results have been coming in very, very steadily. And so I can safely confirm that tallying of results has begun here, and there's a lot of headway that is being made here at Kasama Central.
Interesting, Rachel. Now, let's also talk about the build-up to voting day, which was yesterday. For Kasama Central, in fact, for Kasama District in general, we did see that not so long ago, a few months ago, there was a by-election. So it means that the residents of Kasama are voting again after a few months of that by-election. What was the mood like building up to yesterday? Are we seeing interest from the electorate, even as the votes are being counted and as they await the announcement?
Well, before the, when we got here on Monday, we did see a lot of activity around the Civic Center with so many people coming to accredit, people from the civil society organization, churches, and, political parties. Very incident free, I should be able to tell you. It was very quiet around here except for that day, and the days that we're building Wednesday was pretty much the same. But we did actually communicate this, that post staff were not, most of the post staff were not deployed on that particular day, and the deployment only started later on in the afternoon into yesterday morning. We did see as early as 6 o'clock some of the post staff were still already at the Civic Center, which meant that the dispatchment was delayed. That also caused a delay in opening of most of the polling stations, especially the ones that are in far-flung places. Some of the polling stations were opening at around 10 hours, and we did see to the ones that we had gone, the POs were announcing to say that they were going to extend, and that also had a trickle-down effect of how the inflow of counting was happening, and the inflow of results coming here at the totaling center, which saw a bit of a lag. But we did see some traction to early this morning and into mid-morning up until the time that the ECZ did suspend the counting and announcement of votes. But announcements of the results and tallying was officially started at around 8 p.m. this evening, and there's been quite a smooth flow. And I should be able to tell you that it's been quite hastened, and I think it's because many of the polling stations have brought in their results, and now it's smooth sailing, and we should be able to safely say that probably in the early hours of tomorrow morning, all the results should be able to have come in and announced. As we speak now, 50% of the polling stations have been announced. Very, very smooth sailing, very, very quiet right now. Not so much activity happening, not so many people around this place, but much earlier in the day, we did see a number of people come through, a number of people just, try to witness, the announcement, if you would. But I should be able to safely say again, Kasama has been very incident-free, nothing, no sort of violence, no altercation whatsoever. We've been following and seeing what has been happening in the rest of the country, but there's a totally different picture here in Kasama. It's very, very quiet, and I think you can tell from my surroundings that it's very, very quiet.
Right, Rachel, we'll be getting back to you there in Kasama. Thank you so much for giving us those details. Respite in
the Copper Belt is in Ndola. Let's get to hear from Respite, who is joining us now from the provincial capital of the Copper Belt province. Respite, good evening. How are things looking from the totaling center there?
Good evening. The current situation here at the totaling center, that is Kansen Secondary School, which is being used as a totaling center here in Ndola. The situation currently, it's calm, it's conducive. The moment I arrived, though there is the presence of the men in uniform, and they are ensuring that indeed peace prevails at this station. So as it stands, the situation is peaceful, and the counting has resumed. As we heard earlier, that the ECZ had to suspend the counting and the announcing of the ballot papers in all the totaling centers across the country. So at the moment, the process is still ongoing, and they are still counting. And one thing that I should make you aware is that Ndola Central has 74 polling stations, and at the moment they have just managed to do 31 from that 74. So it's a long way to go, and we are here until we get to know how the results will be coming. So as the results keeps on coming, we'll keep on updating, keep on informing you about any development that development that will come across. So that is the current situation here in Ndola at Kansenshi Secondary School.
All right. Thank you so much for this update. Respite coming through from Ndola Central is in Ndola District right now, and I'll be getting more information around what the results look like at the different levels, National Assembly and local government level, which is the focus from the totaling center there. But at presidential level, we turn our attention to the National Elections Results Center, which is at the Mulungushi International Conference Center right here in Lusaka. We have our reporter, Darius. Darius, it's 36 minutes past 10 p.m. 10 p.m. was the time the Election Commission of Zambia were expected to give the update as announced by themselves. But here we are. We can see that right behind you, we do not have the Chief Electoral Officer, the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Mrs. Mwangala Zolomis. What's going on? All right, so unfortunately we're unable to hear Darius right now, but we'll get back to him as we find out what could be causing the delay from the National Elections Results Center there. A lot of people who are quite anxious, to be honest, and anticipating what the result will be. But do remember that we are here to give you the verified results coming through from the commission. And Darius is on standby there to let us know more about this. And we're already seeing that from the auditorium, a number of stakeholders are present from civil society, from the political stakeholders, talking about the ruling party, talking about the opposition, those who've been accredited to be there during this time of the year. Obviously, we'll be looking forward to hearing from the Election Commission of Zambia. Yesterday, they managed to give an end-of-day report, an end-of-day briefing, which went slightly into the early hours of today. And so many questions came out from that. And one of the common questions, in fact, there were two people who asked pretty much the same question, which was, when will we be getting the results? The first commitment was around midday today, and the expectation was that between 10 and 12 hours we'll be getting the first update. But we did see the update that came through from the commission through a statement which announced that the announcing of results and the counting of votes would be suspended. That was lifted a few hours ago, and now what people wait for is what time the announcement will be made today.
Well, we'd like to just now show you what the chairperson of the Election Commission of Zambia, Mrs. Mwangala Zolomis, did earlier. In fact, tell the country, she did address the country as far as the security situation is concerned, and she gave an update of what to expect.
Wishes to provide the nation with an update of the situation. Following a review of the security situation and consultations with the relevant law enforcement agencies, I'm pleased to inform you and to inform the nation the security threat electoral process has been contained, and that the necessary measures have been put in place to enable the process continue. Further, the Commission is pleased to report that polling was successfully conducted at all polling stations across the country. The last polling station closed today, in the early hours of today, at 2 hours. We therefore wish to advise all stakeholders that the suspension of the counting and view announcement of results has been lifted with immediate effect. Further, the Commission will announce the first set of results at 22 hours this evening. The Commission now wishes to provide the
Well,
nation...
that's the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Mrs. Mwangala Lomas, earlier on giving the announcement as to when the first batch of results would be announced, which was supposed to be 41 minutes ago, but this has not taken place. And Darius Jonia joins us now to give us an update with what is happening from the National Elections Results Center. Darius, have we gotten any information as to why the results are not being announced yet? All right, we apologize for that. Once again, we'll try to reconnect with Darius Jonia, our reporter on the ground there, who's giving us the live updates from the Totaling Center, the National Totaling Center, where the Electoral Commission of Zambia should be giving this particular update. And obviously, with the Commission having the mandate to do so, we do understand that obviously there are processes involved, and with the varying polling stations across the country, getting to consolidate these results and sending them over for the announcement. What people would look forward to is obviously accuracy from there. And there's going to be quite a lot of attention to detail with the numbers, as we understand that a number of people have been able to tabulate these numbers privately. Of course, they cannot make that official confirmation until the Electoral Commission of Zambia does so, hence why a lot of focus will be going towards what will come out from that.
Well, from what we've been able to get from across the country, we've been speaking to our various correspondents, many of them still suggesting there are still some polling stations that have not yet gotten the ballot papers to the totaling centers in the various districts and constituencies that are there. We have been breaking down the old constituencies and the new constituencies, of course, with the delimitation process. We've been giving the people and our viewers, Jumueka here, what the National Assembly will look like, and as far as 226 elective constituencies are concerned, what people expect now is to get the national picture of the results, who could be taking lead with the presidential results and who could be now new members of parliament, new councillors at national level. These are some of the questions and these are some of the issues that the citizens are expected to hear. But Deborah Piri is in Mandevu. Let's quickly cross over to her and we'd like to get details equally on what's currently on the ground. You are in Mandevu, Deborah. Could you give us an update and picture of what is going on? I can see behind you that there's a lot happening as far as the totaling or the results are concerned. Just give us a picture of what's going on.
Yes, good evening, Cosmos. So I am here at Olimpa Africa, the Totaling Center for Mandevu constituency. Now, you know that Mandevu constituency is where Roma constituency was based. So right now, it has a total of 145 constituencies. Now, early in the morning, just to paint you a picture, early in the morning of yesterday, the voting day, I did go at Kabanana Primary School, which is one of the 145 polling stations in Mandevu constituency. And as early as 04 hours, there was a queue outside, people waiting to cast their vote. But it did open a little bit later, because it opened at about 06:30 hours. And as we know, obviously, it did close by 30 minutes later. So, meaning even the coming in of the ballot papers here at the totaling center did quite delay. So, we were here all night, and then the papers, the first batch of the ballot papers from the other polling stations started coming in at 04:01. That's when they started coming in, and as late as around 11 to 12, they were still coming in. So right now, behind me, people are still trying to put things in order so that we receive all the polling stations so that everything can be totaled together. But right now, for the presidential totals, they have only managed to do about 17 polling stations. And for the mayoral, it's about 21 as of now. And also for the parliamentary, by the time I was looking at it, it was at 17. So still working on it. It's 145 constituencies, so definitely we still have a long way to go.
This is Komo Deborah Piri. Good to see Deborah Piri. From our Msanza team, by the way, we are also live on Msanza TV, which is on Topstar channel 93. This is where we give updates also in the local language, but obviously the versatility there of Deborah Piri for tonight. Let's turn our attention back to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, who are expected to make the announcement tonight around the presidential results from the Mulungushi International Conference Center, which is the National Elections Results Center. Let's try to reconnect with Darius. Darius, good evening once again. We hope that you can be able to give us the update now in as far as the announcement is concerned. A lot of people have been looking forward to this moment for the Electoral Commission of Zambia making that announcement. But unfortunately, we can still see that even despite it being 47 minutes past 22 hours, we still see none of the officials seated to give us the updates tonight. All right, Darius, I guess we had a bit of a delay there, but are you able to tell us, do you have any information as of yet why we don't have the Electoral Commission of Zambia ready to give us the update?
Chumweka, we're still here at Mulungushi Conference Center, which is the National Election Results Center. And we are expecting, the full commission being led by the chairperson of the commission, Madam Wangala Zalomis, to give us the first batch of the results. And like you have said, I think around between 17 and 18 hours, we did, we got a statement from the commission in which they had disclosed that they will begin the announcement of the result at exactly 22 hours. And like we had predicted, Chumweka, that there may be, a delay to have the results announced. This has, happened, and one of, the officers from the Corporate Affairs Department in Sylvia Awalia, who is, the senior corporate affairs officer of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, did, announce that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will announce, the result later and not as per their earlier, indication of 22 hours. So various stakeholders have already arrived here at Mulungushi Conference Center, awaiting to, receive the first, batch of the results. And Chumweka, I can mention that these stakeholders includes, a representation from the civil society organization, representation from the political parties contesting, that have contesting this election. But the majority of the political party representation is coming from, two political parties, that is the ruling United Party for National Development and also the opposition NRPUP led by Mr. Brian Mundubile. Now, talking about the stakeholders that have come here to, get the first batch or to receive the first, batch of the results includes Mr. Fabian Mutale. This is not, the first time that he is working at Mulungushi, Conference Center. He has been coming here as a keen, follower of the 2026 general election. Mr. Mutale, you're live on Diamond TV. A Zambian vote. We have, been told by the Electoral Commission of Zambia the results will be announced later. But let's, begin our conversation on why it's important for stakeholders, to be here at Mulungushi Conference Center, even as the Electoral Commission of Zambia announces the results or begins to announce the results.
Well, thank you so much. The stakeholders play a very critical role in governance, and we thought it's wise that we take part from the inception of the process. Remember, electioneering is not an event, but processes. We've been monitoring the processes from as far back as 2021, when Electoral Commission of Zambia were conducting the voter registration from civic centers, up to when they announced the official, we called it the countrywide voter registration in respective districts. So as stakeholders, we want to see to it that all the processes that culminate into such an event we have now are followed, are adhered to, and we take part as responsible stakeholders to argument what the Electoral Commission of Zambia does in terms of civic awareness, in terms of encouraging people understanding the importance of their participation in governance issues. I should also mention to the nation that I think so far so good, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has done the best they can do under the circumstances. And here we are waiting for results. All we can say as stakeholders is that we followed through all the activities, and we give, I think, a plus to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. They have engaged all stakeholders, including non-participants like ourselves in electioneering. So, well done to ECZ.
Mr. Mutale, thank you so much for having an interview with us on the Zambian Vote.
It's always a pleasure, Diamond TV.
That's Mr. Mutale there, Chumweka and Eswa, just interacting with us right here at Mulungushi Conference Center. He is among the dozens of stakeholders that await, the announcement of the first batch of the results by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. So for now, Chumweka, all what we can say is that we wait for the next, announcement by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. What time, they'll be able to announce they will be able to begin announcing the results. It could be at 23 hours, even, at 24 hours, but we'll wait for an update from the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
So, we can see there, you did mention earlier that some of the stakeholders present is Mr. Mlambo Haimbe, who is former Minister of Foreign Affairs and former Member of Parliament for Lusaka Central Constituency. We can also see somewhere next to him, we see one of the alliance partners, Mr. Haivi Hamdudu, who is from the PNUP, president of the PNUP and part of the alliance. Now we saw Mr. Maximue, among others. We saw Mr. Bwalian Nondo, who's with the Tonsi Alliance, part of the people could see, at least from the pictures there. But are we seeing any more people making their ways, especially from the last update that you're able to give us early on?
There are quite, a number of people that have, arrived here, aside from the ones that you have, mentioned, the likes of, the former Justice Minister, Mr. Mlambo, Haimbe, Mr. Haivi Amududu, and also Mr. Maus Sampa. there are also others from the NRPUP. We are able to see Mr. Celestine Mkandia right now, and he is, just having a brief, discussion, a conversation, or a chat, let us put it that way, with Mr. Mulambo Haimbe. We are also seeing a representation from, NGO CC, among, other stakeholders. And I think there will be, more stakeholders that will be coming here at Mulungushi Conference Center as the Commission begins announcing the results.
Thank you so much. We'll be getting back to you at the National Totaling Center as you continue to give us briefs and updates. And as far as that press briefing is concerned, Cherish Sibote is also joining us. She'll be giving us details where she is.
She's in Mongo, and we're going to find out what is happening from the Totaling Center there. Cherish, good evening to you. What's the latest from Mongo District?
Good evening, Chimweka, and good evening, Cheswa. The latest from Mongo District, Mongo Central to be particular, is that as of lunch, when the suspension was put in place, we did see that stakeholders did ask the district electoral officer here to ensure that the opened results be completed even with that announcement made. So they did ask that let the officers, the electoral staff, deal or register and tabulate the results that were opened before the stakeholders, so that by the time ECZ would be given an announcement, those particular results would be in safe hands. And then that was done. The stakeholders that were in the at the Totaling Center here at Kambole agreed, and that was done now. That after 18 hours when the suspension was lifted, we did see a delayment in the resumption of the commencement for the counting and announcing here at Kambole, because many of the stakeholders had left. So we did start around 22 hours, we did commence the counting, and right now we have done over 40 polling stations here in Mongo Central. And before lunch, before the suspension, the presidential votes were standing with the UPND, President Hakainde Hichilema, having 14,590. NRPUP had 1,360. Then we had Mr. Harry Kalaba with 27. We had Given Katuta with 3. We had Mr. Howard Kunda with 1. We had Fred Membe with 20. We had...
All right. Cherish.
We had Citizens First with 15.
Cherish, sorry to cut you there, Cherish. Of course, we're still waiting for the consolidated results as they trickle into the National Elections Results Center. But as we turn our focus to the National Assembly and local government levels, what are we seeing so far from the results there?
Government levels at parliamentary level, we have 3 candidates at Mr. Bright Tombi under the NRPU party, and we have Mr. Makai under the UPND, and we have an independent candidate, Mr. Musukwa, and the numbers right now they are announcing
seem to have a connectivity challenge there, but we'll be hearing from Cherish again. Well, she's back on the line. Cherish, sorry we lost the connectivity with you there, but you're just explaining more on how things are in the Mongo district from Mongo Central in as far as the National Assembly and local government seats are concerned.
Yes, Chimweka, I did lose you there, but I was saying that at parliamentary level, the seats, the tabulations seem to be on the independent candidate and the UPND candidate, as they are tallying almost at each other at each polling station. We get to see that if the independent candidate maybe has a 180, the UPND candidate will be in the same range, whilst the NRPUP candidate is falling far short at parliamentary level, that is. Then at local government level, we have seen the competition stiff between the NRPUP candidate and the UPND candidate. Chimweka.
All right, what has also been noticed is, I think, the rise or the least number of independent candidates across the country there. And even building up to voting day, people given time to campaign and to appeal to the electorate. From the time you arrived, I know you arrived a few days ago ahead of voting. What have been some of your observations in terms of the playing field leading up to yesterday?
My observation, Jamaica, has been that throughout Mongu town, I did see the United Party for National Development campaign loudly and openly. I did see one independent candidate, but throughout the 3 days I have been here, it has been mostly and largely the United Party for National Development. Even earlier before the suspension, we did see some supporters stationed at the Totaling Center gate, waiting to see the results or even hear from the stakeholders that are witnessing.
No, network seems to be quite bad where she is. But we'll be hearing from Cherish Sibote, who is in Mongu Central. And she's just explaining more about what the playing field has been. According to her, there was quite the presence of the United Party for National Development, who are obviously seeking to retain their position at the different levels of these elective positions within Mongu district. And let's now look at what we have seen from the number of candidates across the country, bringing it to Lusaka district. Soon we'll be getting the results for the different constituencies. Let's focus on what's coming through from Lusaka, from Chilanga district, what we have here. We did look at this this earlier, Cheswa. We did talk about this earlier, how we have these candidates coming through from Chilanga South, the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, NRPUP, being represented by Annie Brown. We did see the UPND being represented by Ngenda Stumbeko, and two independent candidates, Maria Langa as well as Sylvia Mtali. We talked about this earlier, and how obviously, for a number of people, they look at what these candidates have to offer, and you look at how you think that sometimes the race would be between, those who are standing on a political party ticket, but you see that sometimes the independent candidates have been able to, canvass for votes and have been able to appeal to the people out there. And in some areas, as we saw in 2021, the independent candidates managing to convince the electorate, the constituents there, and emerging victorious. But in Chipata Central, we're finding out who'll be emerging victorious as we get the update from Samuel Kwawe, who's joining us now. Samuel, good evening. What's the latest coming through from Chipata District?
Good evening, Chumweka. Thank you so much. In Chipata District, I'm at the Totaling Center here at Chipata Central constituency. And what we've seen is the resumption of announcement of the results after a verification process. We're aware that the Electoral Commission of Zambia had suspended the announcement of results because of some pockets of violence which have been reported in some parts of the country. But here in Eastern Province, suffice to mention that we've had a very peaceful election, and even the polling there up to date, we've not seen any pockets of violence which is recorded. But just behind me, the returning officer, Mr. Simpukwe, who is announcing the results for Chipata Central constituency at presidential, mayoral, parliamentary, as well as local government. So that's what we are trying to do right here.
From the polling stations, 64 polling stations, Samuel, how many polling stations have so far brought the results to the Totaling Center where you are? Can you give us a figure? Can you give us a number of how many polling stations have managed to bring the results to the Totaling Center there?
Yes, so we have about 64 polling stations which we're expecting to finish right here. By the time the suspension was being done, there were about 29 polling stations which were announced, but now we are almost going into 40 constituencies which are being announced, and the announcement is ongoing, even as I'm speaking to you right now. So we expect that all the 64 polling stations will be announced by the detailed
Any reports on violence in the area in Chipata Central earlier today?
Chipata Central, as well as Eastern Province as a whole, we generally not recorded any pockets of violence. And I think even when the suspension of the announcement of the results were being announced by the commission, we had some civil society organizations here, such as Caritas Chipata, who had expressed concern because the Eastern Province was not amongst those provinces which had recorded as violence. So they had felt that the decision was not good for parts like Eastern Province, which had not recorded such pockets of violence. So, but luckily, we've seen that the ECZ has responded to several concerns from stakeholders such as LAS, TIZ, as well as Caritas Chipata, which is the church, and they've been able to lift. And right now, the announcement and verification of results are ongoing. I also was in touch with Chipata North Totaling Center as well as Rwangeni, and we've been reliably informed that also the process is ongoing.
All right, Samuel, I'd like to find this out from you. I think for Chipata District, Chipata Central, to be precise, it's one of those constituencies where we have seen people beginning to celebrate or get to declare who a winner is, obviously without the returning officer officially having done so, probably from what people have been able to tabulate privately. But are we seeing more of these reactions, or are we seeing some patience towards the final confirmation from the returning officer?
Well, the official declaration is the electoral commission, and where we are here is the electoral center, and we are getting official results from here. And indeed, we've seen people declaring themselves as winners. And the Electoral Commission of Zambia has warned, including the Zambia Police Service. Mr. Chilali was just issuing a statement saying that it is an offense also to circulate false information on different platforms. So here, what we are receiving are official results, and those who have declared themselves as winners, that's an offense by law. So we have not seen any other person here at the Totaling Center celebrating any other person winning. But what we've seen is that there are people also outside anticipating that once the declaration of the results, the announcement of the results are done, and the winner is declared at the end, they'll be able to, go and celebrate, or indeed, if they have lost, they'll be able to concede and also give their supporters direction.
All right, Samuel, thank you so much for speaking with us. That is Samuel Kwawe in Chipata Central. He's been given some details as far as the results are concerned. And what is left now is for the results to go through to the National Totaling Center at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. Darius Jonya is still there, and he will be giving us details. He is still there, and so we'll be getting details from him a little later.
All right, so we'll be taking a look at some of the constituencies and what we did see from those who contested, those who are vying for the position of Member of Parliament. As we understand, Cheswa, that obviously with the National Assembly, 266 in total, but 226 elective positions for the various constituencies after delimitation. People will be taking a look at who will be elected, and that's why we did ask someone that particular question. People already celebrating and declaring themselves as winners, thanking the people without the official confirmation from the returning officers at the totaling stations, totaling centers at the various districts of the country.
Nothing is official so far, and so would like members of the public to stay with us as we wait for the Electoral Commission of Zambia to give us the official confirmed results from the National Totaling Center. And so the Electoral Commission of Zambia will obviously be giving us the details. Mrs. Mwangala Zalumis did indicate 10 p.m. People still anxiously waiting for the first batch of results. But what is a sigh of relief for many is that the suspension was lifted by the Electoral Commission of Zambia for voting to carry on, and we can see some activity from the different parts of the country.
Yes, one of the constituencies we can take a look at is, after Kafue East, we take a look at Lusaka Central, looking at some of the candidates from there. But from Kafue East, as we mentioned earlier, we see that it's among three people here. The UPND's Wumba Malambo, who was a council chairperson within the district in 2021 and now seeking to be member of parliament from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, Mr. Daniel Sichilongo, who's also coming through from the civil society space, but now taking himself to the front and contesting actively. Interestingly, coming through contesting under a political party. We have seen from some of the other stakeholders who were from civil society and joining the political space, choosing to be independent candidates, the likes of Mr. Ges Nyirenda in Chilanga. You look at the likes of Benedict Decker in Chongwe, from civil society and contesting on an independent ticket, while others have chosen to go on a party ticket. But let's take a look at Lusaka Central. This is quite the interesting constituency, regarded as a very tricky one. People tend to believe, or the perception is that you have one-term members of parliament. If you're a member of parliament one time, it's very difficult to be re-elected, owing to some of the demands of the people present, and quite a number of people contesting on this particular constituency. Let's start off with one of the independent candidates there, Mwila Bwanga. By the way, Cheso, we have so many candidates that would have to move on from this particular
10 candidates in total.
10 candidates. So we have 7 here. We'd have to get to the other 3. But what we see here, independent candidate there, in alphabetical order, we see Mr. Mwila Bwanga. But just getting back to the first page of the candidates and looking at the names that we have there as we take a look at that. The Citizens First have Morgan Kapui. Now, we have the Resolute Party, which is under the Tonse Alliance. We have Charity Lumpa, who is contesting. She was seen recently accompanying Mrs. Tasila Lungu Mwansa, who is former member of parliament for Chawama constituency, who was also accompanying her husband to Kabulonga Boys Secondary School, where President Hakainde Hichilema also cast his vote. But taking it back to the candidates for the United Party for National Development, we have Mr. Msaiwale Mlewa. So he's been a member of the UPND. In 2021, he contested as an independent candidate. He was hoping to be adopted, but decided to go the independent route. Was not successful. We saw that the successful candidate was from the UPND, the adopted candidate, Mr. Mlambo Haimbe, State Council, who is also a former Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, currently at the National Elections Results Center at the Mulungushi International Conference Center right now. But he did surrender his ambitions for this constituency and did endorse the candidature of Mr. Msaiwale Mlewa. And we also see the Christian Democratic Party have Mr. Simon Mwanza. We have an independent candidate, Mr. Andrew Nsunge. We also see Mr. Bowen Piri, independent candidate. By the way, Cheso, I don't know if you're familiar with who Mr. Bowen Piri is. Are you by any chance?
Well, not exactly. Not exactly.
I think in the entertainment circles, people know him as Henry B.J. Piri, the comedian. But obviously, when you look at the electoral process, you go by the government names, and that's when sometimes people get to see people's government names and sometimes people's middle names that get to be identified. But the remaining 3 candidates we see are independent candidates here. Philip Siame, we see Moses Sikazwe, as well as Dabwiso Zulu. So those are the 10 people vying for Member of Parliament in Lusaka Central.
95,689 registered voters in Lusaka Central. Will be very exciting race. But let's go now to Mike Mwendachave, who will now give us an update as far as the vote counting. As you're aware, the Election Commission of Zambia did lift the suspension on vote counting and would like to get an update in Feira. Now, Mike, thank you for joining us this evening. What is the latest from what's happened today? What can you tell us is the latest update and as far as results coming in there.
Good evening, Teswa, as well as Chimweka right there in studio. So, as I'm speaking right here in Luangwa district in Fera, to be specific, because we're talking about Fera constituency here, everything has been concluded from the official opening of polling stations around 06 hours yesterday to the closure around 18 hours, smoothly, so to say, in different polling stations. And I had the privilege actually to visit a number of them. I was at Faraday Secondary School. I was also at Luangwa, primary school. I was also at Soweto, polling station as well, to see how the voting is actually conducted, as well as speak to a number of voters to see what is it that is indeed influencing what they were doing, at that sacred ballot yesterday. So it was peaceful, and by 18 hours there was the closure of all polling stations, to be specific, and results started flowing out to the council district office, which was acting as the totaling center. By 02 in the morning, a lot of results were coming in, but that is exactly what delayed the whole process, because Luangwa, Luangwa is a part of Lusaka province, and should be about 314 kilometers away from the CBD right there in Lusaka, and it's a very small constituency, just carrying about over 19,000 voters with a population of 35,000. So we were actually expecting to finish much more earlier, but the places here, or the polling stations here in Luangwa, are far apart from each other, and also the road network. This is when the council offices, they're still trying to work on it. So that is the absolute thing that made sure to say there was a delay in making sure to say results are actually transported from different polling stations to the totaling center at the Luangwa council office. So from there, now the verification as well as the announcement of these results from polling stations kickstarted at the totaling center, and it went on by 08:15 hours. We are just sitting at 17 polling stations being counted out of the total, which is 46 polling stations. And to be specific, much more specific, we're talking about 17 wards in Fera constituency. So by the time that the statement came from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Chairperson Mwangalaza, allow me to pause the counting as the counting as well as the verification of these ballots. Luangwa was almost done with all the 46 polling stations. We are only sitting at 44 polling stations, making it much more easier to conclude when the commission lifted that temporal pause to the counting as well as the verification. So when it was lifted, it was much more easier, because by then we were still dealing with small polling stations, and from there it was much easier. From there, there was the verification, the final one, verifying everything that has been brought in from different polling stations. And results have been announced. Where I'm standing at here, there were a lot of people. As you can see now, I'm just being greeted by mosquitoes that are passing around. People have gone. They know it's still coming in. They're still celebrating, because they know who is their member of parliament for the next 5 years, who is their council chairperson, as well as the councillors that have won different wards. So speaking of councillors, we are speaking of 17 wards, of which the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity have managed to scoop 11 wards from Fera constituency, and the UPND also just coming in shortly. But going to the council chairperson position, the UPND have emerged victorious in this particular position, but it was a very tight race. And kudos to Loveless Banda of the United Party for National Development for actually scooping this particular position. Now moving to National Assembly, which has been retained by Emmanuel Tembo, the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. Now we know Luangwa from back in the day, in the 1973 to 1991, it was heavily dominated by the UNIP government. They were taking charge of Luangwa for almost about 4 consecutive times in a row, and this was none other than Stanley Njangandeka, who was a member of parliament for quite a number of years, not until up to 1991, when the constituency shifted to the Multi-Party for Democracy, which is the MMD, under Fidelis Mando, Patrick Ngoma, and Charles Shawa representing the area. Now, from the UPND, now we had to head to the by-election in 2013, of which Patrick Ngoma retained the seat after joining the Patriotic Front. Now that was in 2013, and in 2016, now FERA, became one of the few constituencies that had an independent member of parliament. So in 2016, we had an independent member of parliament right here in FERA constituency, and coming to 2021, Emmanuel Tembo, under the Patriotic Front, managed to win this particular seat and come back to 2026. He has managed again to scoop this very position. Now, just giving you the full results of what's transpired on the National Assembly level, and we'll get to the council chairperson as well. And starting from bottom, where we had Nkua Fatima, an independent candidate who has managed to scoop 95 votes. And we also had Tembo Bruno of the Socialist Party, who has managed to get 239 votes. And we had Philemenga Joseph, another independent candidate, who has managed to scoop 471 votes. We also had Dr. Danford Makaya of the United Party for National Development, rather UPND, who has managed to get 4,406 votes. And now coming to Tembo Emmanuel, who has emerged victorious in this particular constituency, actually returning the seat, who has managed to score 7,775 votes. So those are the official results that are coming from FERA constituency. The seat has been returned. In 2021, it was being held actually by the Patriotic Front, and now it has shifted, going to the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. So those are the results that are coming in Ruangwa and FERA, to be specific. But also just to make mention of the council chairperson results, because we had three candidates that were vying for this position. We had Tembo Gavin of the Socialist Party as well, who has managed to get 2,189 votes. We also had Njovu Charity of the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, who has managed to get 5,017 votes, as well as the winner now, the person who emerged victorious, Banda Loveness of the UPND, who has managed to get 5,798 votes. So that's where we are standing on in terms of Lusaka Province, Ruangwa District, FERA constituency to be specific. Results have come in, and people of Ruangwa now know we're going to be their leaders for the next 5 years.
Mike, well, you are right. I mean, quite a number of mosquitoes over there. We hope that you stay safe. And still on that, let's talk about, first of all, where you are. Are you still at the Totaling Center right now?
Yes, Chumweka, I'm still at the Totaling Center, and I could be able to show you even the locks have been closed. And just to also make mention to say the whole process has been peaceful throughout the day. We had just a road in between, of which there were supporters of the NRPUP on the other side. Again, on the other side as well, there were supporters of the United Party for National Development. And I had to question, because I was curious to say how you're managing, there are different types of songs that are being, sung just a few meters away from each other, but with. And I managed to talk to 2 or 3 people, of which they told me to say, no, this is just politics. And definitely some of the people that you're seeing here, some are wearing red, some are talking about the torch and all of that. Some of them are actually coming from one household, so they understand to say it's politics, of which no cases of violence have been recorded, even in mid-afternoon, when the Electoral Commission of Zambia had to pause.
Okay, looks like we'll have to grab the mic from him.
Had to post the verification as well as announcements of results. It was peaceful. Stakeholders did not pass out to communicate or to understand what was being transpired, but I could see the heat from the commissioners, because they didn't know what to tell the stakeholders from different political parties to say, we have to pause now, we can't continue with the process. But after they had to gather their courage and talk to
Mike, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Stakeholders, and me inclusive, and stakeholders,
okay.
understood of which a number of them actually
details, perhaps.
left the total
We'll
center.
be getting back to
around
Farah
19 hours for the
in Luangwa a little later.
Not even the mosquitoes can stop him right now. He's got quite a lot to say in terms of giving us the update. But I mean, quite the review and the history, looking at where the constituency is coming from, the members of parliament leading up to the victor, from what he's been able to tell us so far.
Absolutely. Let's go to Kefas Chitalu now, and who is in Chawama, and he too will be giving us some details of what's been happening in Kuchawama. Let's find out, Mr. Ejimweka Chitesha. Kuchawama kuba Kefas Chitalu, ushe kuchuma tupera kama figures in as far as the elections are concerned.
Kanshi Kuchawama nga fintu mwishibe ushiku bwa marero kwali kutendeka okusala abantu abengi balifuma okuti basale ntungulushi shabo kanshi ushiku bonsero kwali kutendeka okupenda lelo uruchero nga fintu mwishibe kwachako nturubundi shimo ishakisafuma kulya Kuchawama ichachitengo kuti mkwai na bakapokola mkabasopo omutende kuti baiko kuti basope omutende lelo ilio akabunge kalo kushapa kusala aka Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ kachisa imika umurimo wakupenda no kumonesha atumbuika muri kusala kanshi WhatsApp balatu afumako kunchende kulya no kulera timonesha la konkapo rimwe kino chunguro kaidi bachira ndokuti yo imirimo mkwayi kuti yatendeka na kabiri na chisaima okuya kulya twasema okuya Kuchawama mkwayi kutumwe no mbango kupenda nango kupendukamo na kutendeka kanshi ilo wachifika pale hapa pamwishipe mkwayi mumbali ya museko kutwingire paskuru pale pendera mkwayi pale hapa chamu primary school twatsanga mkwai muchunguro muri ba 2130 muri apachi ba mkwai bakapokola mkwai ebachi mini nabengi sana mkwai palia pamwinchi wa kuingira mkwai pe school pala pene pachi ba na bashirika mkwai balesopa omutende ero twatsa natsa pita palia kuingira mukati na pampongoro pene pala gate na popene mkwai pachi ba abashirika elio na bakapokola okuingira mukati ili school na mwine mwachi bafe mkwai abashirika elio na bakapokola ebachi bamu panu mabachanji pusha ifyonjire mu kuchitakula n'abalondera buno na ilangisha nemwine ero bachitatanga fintu mwene tapali umuntu uri onse pali kano kashita uishire mu kubomba uyu murimo kuno penda takula tendeka kanshi pali kano kashita kuti waluba echo kanshi nafumako panono ndetulishako panche ndife mpepe mkwai kanshi fimbi fyalako nkapu mkwai twalako ata ukumichinko lako ngachako ebo kutira ti ukupenda kwa tendeka kulia Kuchawama lelo takula tendeka pali kano kashita lelo ushikubwa mailo uwafumine ko mkwai abantu abengi mkwai chinkupiti wabantu alima ukuti asale kulia Kuchawama kanshi Kuchawama abantu abalembesheko ubukasala mkwai bena mkwai bengi bena bali pachipendo cha 93,124 ebalembesheko ubukasala kulingana nipepa la fyaba ECZ lelo kusamuna pali chichipendo abantu bafikire kuchipendo cha kuchira pachipendo cha 44,379 abamkwai ni bashitata lelo banyinefwe bena bali pachipendo cha 48,745 eba stata kanshi munchende umo basalira mkwai mulaba cha polling stations yena mkwai ni 111 emfuma mkwai emo bale salira mkwai efitungu fya kusalira mo ilo kwachibo kucheche kupitana kumumisebo momumo mutende kwena eko uli abantu abengi nabingira na mumayanda kanshi palikano kashita tatura tendeka okupenda bwino tumono konkanyapo okupenda fikwala chitika kulingana FBCZ bandi okuti ati mkwai milimo kuti yakonkanyapo.
I don't think this is a totaling center, a polling station. But Kuchawama
mkwai.
Kuchawama, okay. Okay.
Tuwapapa tamuri ku polling station nimbisha chumfuikisha kuti mwa londoro rako ocho tamuberere ku polling station mu Chawama.
Mkwai kashinga fintu nati bansosere ilio akabunge ka ECZ bachibirisha akasuba kutira ati batala bayiminika imirimo yakupenda pali kala kashita twachisa stratu asela ko twaimina ko mkwai akataramukira twafuma pali epo bachira pendera pali pa pa Chawama Primary School. Ero kanshi ero bakisabirisha nakabiri kuti mkwai milimo kuti yatendeka twakisabwererako kutya kunchende ko balependera mkwai na insta ya 21:30 ero twakifika kula kunchende na kifika panchende parata tsangwa kuti ati pali mkwai abalependa milimo yakupenda taira atendeka mkwai palife abashirika na bakapokola ebalesopa umutende pali kano kashita milimo yakupenda taira atendeka ngacha kuti kupenda nakabiri kwa atendeka twala kwata okumicinkulako.
Okay, Chisuma. Nomba polling stations yali 124 muchawama. Information mulechita receive from different polling stations. Yanga ama polling stations yali tele ama ballot papers kumbali ya totaling center. Information shimukwetepo pali ama polling stations.
Pali kano kashita kula kuchawama ama polling stations yaba 111 ema polling stations yaba kudya lelo if paper la fya kusalira ponangula ama results na yesa ko ya moya mulangula teyonse yafikire na yesa ko munchende mwomo twala yesa tumone bushani yanga ayeshire edo kabiri yafumine kuisoni yanga ayashere ko ama results kutibale tepanchende bale pendera nga fintuna ndire imirimo yakupenda taira atendeka yo kulya kulifye bakapokola ero nabashirika ebalesopa umutende emulandi twasera ko panono tumonenga chakuti mulimo wakupenda watendeka mkwai twalabwerera pakwa twingamirisha ko eri ashikuringana nefyo lirechitika
bamshirika na bakapokola ushoko bakachiri muma surrounding areas ngamwamona pa bamushirika ukona bakapokola ushopo bakachiri barepitana kuma polling stations umuchawama bakachiri barepitana nangu finchitika paso.
So pakasita kanoni twatisa pitana ko kwachwani kuma 21 hours to 21:30 bakapokola kwena bafudire sana pala baleta patotoning center pali bakapokola mkwai epo bafudire sana epo bafudire bapene pali na bashirika ebo twatsanga mkwai bali pampongolo na mukati mkwai emo bali mkwai pala patotoning center lelo abakupenda ife pala abantu bakalemba weri ashi ona bala batama monitors bala bere mkuchechete fyo milimo erenda kwenanza tsanga tapali abali bonse palife abashirika babuteko na bakapokola babuteko balesopa umutende ngatwaye kwenda endo kupitana mu misebo mulamu Chawama kwena abantu nabengira manda tamuli abalenda feche ndende yo abantu nabengira manda kuli fyo mutende kwena pali kano kashitata kuli nturubundi shirishonse kula ku Chawama.
All right, that's our reporter coming through from Chawama constituency right here in Lusaka district. And remember, we are still live on Musanza TV, that's Topstar channel 93, where we broadcast in local languages as well, giving you updates in your mother tongue. And you can find this when you tune into Topstar channel 93 on the platform there. Let's still stay within Chawama constituency, where we have our reporter, Best Jerry. Actually, it's in Kabwe, I beg your pardon, to give us the update coming through from the Central Province. Best, good evening. What's the news coming through from there? All right, we're just trying to get the best connection from our reporter this evening as we find out what's coming through from Central Province of Zambia, Kabwe Central to be precise. We understand that from Kabwe Central, we quite a lot of expectations from the people there in terms of what's going to influence, what could have influenced their voting patterns as they voted from yesterday. But obviously from the totaling center, results coming through from the different constituencies of the district, and soon we'll be finding out who exactly is emerging victorious. It's also another part of Zambia where we've seen a number of speculations as to who's emerged winner. But of course, people have to await the official confirmation that will be coming through from the returning officer.
People have to wait for the official communication, but let's see if we can now get to another correspondence. We have over 100 correspondents across the country. Lillian Chipeso is in Makeni, and let's see if we could get to speak to her. Lillian, thank you for joining us this evening. You've been braving the night. Could you tell us what's the latest there in Makeni?
Good evening, Cheswa. Good evening, Chimweka, and good evening, Zambia. Well, Cheswa, the latest here in Makeni is that before the suspension was effected by the Electoral Commission of Zambia earlier this afternoon, we had seen the counting of over about actually exactly 11 polling stations out of the 103 that are here in Makeni. But right now, after the suspension was lifted around 18 hours, I must make mention that the counting here just resumed at 19 hours after following the lifting of the suspension around 18. It took over 30 minutes for the returning officer and every other stakeholder to make their way back to the Totlin Center. As you're aware that counting and verification of results cannot be done without the presence of stakeholders and observers. We are talking about, civil society organization, the media, and also just monitors from political parties themselves. And so there was that bit of a delay, and it did resume at exactly 19 hours. And so far, we've done an additional 11. So now Makeni is standing at 22 polling stations that have been tallied. And this is still out of 103. But I must also make mention that some of the things that are coming from, just polling officers is that the exhaustion that has come about with taking that space, because we saw the suspension being effected somewhere midday, and this affected the pace at which the counting process was initially supposed to be undertaken. The returning officer here did give himself and his team a target of at least winding and giving a consolidated result by the end of today, but that has not been the case, and this has been as a result of what we saw, the Electoral Commission of Zambia effecting that suspension due to political violence that was reported in some parts of the country. Sadly, we did see the death of, a 57-year-old from Matero constituency, just right here within Lusaka. But also following the statement also that came from the Electoral Commission of Zambia that there's been calm and stability, peace has been restored, and leading to lifting the suspension. I must also make mention that when the suspension was effected, there was heavy presence of men and women in uniform, not just the Zambia police, but also the Zambia army. There was that presence here just before we were told that we needed to take that break and allow the Electoral Commission of Zambia to give further notice as to when counting and tabulation of results can continue. The premises of Bayuni Secondary School that you produce your accreditation, you have to identify yourself, and that's the only way that you get through. So that's the situation right now. We've done 22 polling stations out of 103 that are within Makeni constituency.
Lillian Chpeso, thank you so much for giving us this update. We'll be back to you shortly for that. We'll also be getting back to the National Elections Results Center, which is at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. The Electoral Commission of Zambia expected to give the update on the results, the announcement of the results. It was supposed to happen at 22 hours, but at least 1 hour, 38 minutes later, we are seeing at least the presence of the Electoral Commission of Zambia there. Earlier on your screens, you did probably see the Corporate Affairs Manager, Patricia Luhanga, present ahead of what is expected to be the announcement. But before we turn our attention back to the Mulungushi International Conference Center, let's head back to Kabwe, where we have our reporter, Best Jere. Best, what is the latest coming through from the Totaling Center in Kabwe Central?
Thank you so much, and good evening. In Kabwe, so far from the parliamentary side, 24 out of 71 polling stations have been covered and verified. So this is the process that is happening right now here, and verification of ballots resumed actually at around 20 hours, and the process has continued as from here a number of stakeholders from the observers have gathered here, including the media, inclusive Diamond TV is here, where we're bringing the discussion of what is happening here. We have the European Union,
sorry to cut you there.
among other observers.
Best, sorry, we have to cut you there. We will return to more of this update from you in Kabwe Central. We turn our attention to the update that will be coming through from the Mulungushi International Conference Center, where we do have the National Election Results Center. As you can see on your screen, we do have the chairperson of the Election Commission of Zambia, Mrs. Mwangala Zelomes, who has arrived alongside the team there. Present is also the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Brown Kasaro, as they take their seats ahead of what we're expecting to be an announcement of the first batch of the results. With 20 minutes to go before a brand new day, before we get into the 15th of August 2026, we get to hear what will come through from there. We'll cross over to the Mulungushi International Conference Center, where the Corporate Affairs Manager in Patricia Luhanga will get to interact with the public.
The Chief Electoral Officer who does the honors to invite the members of the Commission to start the announcements. CEO.
Thank you, Director of Programs. Good evening, distinguished stakeholders and members of the press. Let me begin once again by appreciating your patience. We should have been here at 22, but given that this is the first set of results, you will appreciate that we needed a bit more time to do the verification, for the Commission to do the verification and come and announce to the nation. I wish also, secondly, to indicate that following the lifting of the suspension, the Commission has recorded increased number of results coming in. So we will continue to do the verification, and we expect a significant number to be announced tomorrow. It is now my distinguished honor, ladies and gentlemen, to invite the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, who will call upon each of the members to read the results assigned to them respectively. Chairperson, I invite you. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It is my honor and pleasure and privilege to start this process of sharing with you the results arising from the 2026 presidential election. We'll start off. Each one of us will read some results, and I'll finally read the out of the 226 constituencies, and that is the results that will be read today. I'll start off. I'll invite General Mukanda to read the first one. General. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll start with Northwestern Province, Mufumbwe District, Dongwe Constituency. Njovu Akim of the DU Party, 0. Pule Daniel, CDP, 1. Kunda Howard, Zawapa, 2. Mushimba Brian, OPP, 2. Siamunene Richwell, NFP, 3. Mbe Richard, LM, 4. Katuta Given, Independent, 6. Membe Fred, SP, 7. Chancer Given, MEE, 8. Waria Kelvin, ZMP 1818. Kalaba Hari CF 2020. Mundubire Brian NRP UP 143. 143. Hichilema Hakainde UPND 6,848. 6,848. Registered voters for the Dongwe constituency stands at 13,221. 13,221. Valid votes cast 7,062. 7,062. Rejected votes 213. 213. Total votes cast 7,275. 7,275. And the percentage turnout stood at 55.03%. Thank you.
The next set of results will be read by Commissioner Ndioi.
NFP 7. Kunda Howard Zawapa 8. Katuta Given Independent 8. Njovu Akim DU 10 1-0. Kalabahari CF 11 1-1. Silumbe Richard LM 15 1-5. Mushimba Brian OPP 22 2-2. Chancer Given MEE 30 3-0. Bwalia Kelvin ZMP 34 3-4. Membe Fred SP 51 5-1. Hichilema Hakainde UPND 4,900 4900. Mundubile Brian NRPUP 7,885 7885. And the total number of registered voters in Feira constituency are 19,523. Valid votes cast were 12,981. Rejected votes 294. Total votes cast 13,275. Percentage turnout in Feira constituency 68%. Chair, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. The next set of results will be read by Commissioner McDonald Chipenzi.
Thank you, Chair. We move to Northern Province, Kaputa District, constituency Kundawika. Siamnene Richwell, NFP 0. Sirumbe Richard, LM 1. Katuta Given, Independent 1. Njovu Akim A, DU 2. Pule Daniel C, CDP 2. Kunda Howard Zawapa 3. Chancer Given MEE 3. Membe Fred SP 4. Walia Kelvin F ZMP 4. Mushimba Brian OPP 5. Karabahari CF 8. Mundubire Brian M NRPUP 3,180. 3180. Hichrema Hakainde S UPND 4160. 4,160. The registered voters in Kundawika constituency are 10,796. 10796. Valid vote cast 7,373. 7,373. Rejected votes 176. 176. Total votes cast 7,549. 7,549. Percentage turnout 69.92%. Chair, I submit.
The fourth set of results will be read by Commissioner Sinkala. Please, may you read?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will read results from Tsamba District, constituency Tsamba. Siamnene Richwell, NFP 1. Kunda Howard Zawapa 1. Pule Daniel C. M MEE 17 17. Kalabahari CF 20 20. Membe Fred SP 21 21. Walia Kelvin F ZMP 35 35. Mundubire Brian M NRPUP 3,180. 3,180. Ichilema Hakainde S UPND 6,568. 6,568.
Registered voters 22,347, 22,347. Total valid votes cast 9,872, 9,872. Rejected votes 249, 249. Total votes cast 10,121, 10,121. Percentage turnout 45.29%. Chair, those are the results for Samba constituency, and I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll go to the consolidated results for the 4 constituencies out of 226. I'll read them out. Pule Daniel, C, CDP 5. Siamunene Richwell, NFP 11. Kunda Howard, Zawapa 14. Njovu Akim, A, DU 15. Katuta Given, Independent 21. Silumbe Richard, LM 27. Mushimba Brian, OPP 40. Chansa Given, MEE 58. Kalabahari CF 59. Membe Fred, SP 83. Bwalia Kelvin, F, ZMP 91. Munduvile Brian, M, NRPUP 14,388, 14,388. Hichilema Hakainde, S, UPND 22,476, 22,476. So those are the consolidated results for the 4 constituencies that were shared with you. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, Commissioners, thank you for that update. Before we leave, maybe let me request CEO for some announcements.
Thank you, Director of Programs. Distinguished guests, tomorrow in the morning, the Commission will issue a notice as to the timing of the first announcement. So the timing of the first announcement, we will issue a notice in the morning, around 9 hours, to indicate to yourselves when the first announcement will be done for tomorrow. And as indicated earlier, we are beginning to see an increase in the number of constituencies received, which constituencies will be verified and announced tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you. We've come to the end of the results announcement for this session. May I request the Chairperson, Vice Chairperson, Commissioners and CEO to leave the hall.
Narasini, uyafika yosanga, it's time to vote. You will go and vote. It's your right to vote. Now uyafika yosanga, it's time to vote.
So that is the first update, the first batch of results coming through from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And that is at the National Election Results Center, at the Mulungushi International Conference Center, led there by the Electoral Commission of Zambia chairperson in Mwangala Zalomes, alongside the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Brown Kasaro, as well as the commissioners who were present to make the announcement. And just so there we have it, the first set of presidential results announced. And from what we've gotten as the communication, there will be an update early this morning. It's already a brand new day. There will be an update in a few hours as to when the next set of results will be announced. And obviously people will be looking forward to getting more of these updates. So far, the expectation, the initial expectation is that by the 17th of August 2026, which will be a Monday, the final result was going to be made, and they were going to at least announce or at least declare the presidential winner from the 2026 race. But with what we saw yesterday, the suspension of the counting of votes and the suspension of the announcement of the results, it's yet to be seen whether or not this particular deadline will be met. But from what a number of people are anticipating, this may not be the case.
Well, let's see what happens the next few days. But the Electoral Commission of Zambia will give a notice this morning, just indicating as to when and what time today, I mean, it's a brand new day, what time the commission will come back and give the second batch of the results. And as you can see and as you've heard, obviously 14 presidential candidates in the race, and quite the race, if you like to put it that way. You've seen the top two contenders there at the top, with President Hichilema there, just around 22,000 in four constituencies, consolidated constituencies that have been announced so far, and the NRPUP trailing behind with around 14,000 votes. So very interesting figures that we have received so far, but the commission will be able to give us as verified information as we also, Chimweka, continue to speak to our correspondents that are dotted across the country. They have been giving you the details. They have been giving you what you need to know as far as what's happening in the different polling stations across the country. And so it'll be very interesting to get feedback also from the Electoral Commission of Zambia at the National Totaling Center. Darius is still there, and so a little later we'll be able to speak to him as we also look at some of the figures in as far as the presidential candidates are concerned. I think the candidates have been waiting, stakeholders have been waiting. I should assume they're satisfied with the results being given. They did apologize for coming late, but of course, the commissioners there did emphasize that they needed to verify these results before they could announce them to the country. So you can understand that I think they also have been perhaps working under pressure with trying to consolidate and give us what the country needs to know.
Sometimes they say better late than sorry, better being accurate than having being early and having the wrong figures. And for a time like this, just so we get to understand and recognize the fact that it is quite a sensitive time of the year, and so many people are focused to seeing what is accurate and is verified. Of course, it needs to be aligned with what people would have also been able to collect and receive as information from the respective polling stations across the country. But of course, it's very important that we have the due process get to be followed before the announcement of the results. And like you mentioned, this is what was stated earlier by the Chief Electoral Officer right before handing over to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Soon we'll be crossing back to the National Election Results Center, where we have a reporter, Darius Jonia. And obviously getting to speak with different stakeholders there. We did see, even as the announcements were being made, and he also mentioned quite a number of people who are present in the auditorium representing the different stakeholders within the civil society space and also from the political players. What he mentioned was that, interesting enough, we have two political groupings present there, the Tonsi Alliance being represented as well as the United Party for National Development. And now that also makes one wonder, looking at the representation of the other candidates. I mean, away from what now looks to be the two top contenders from this particular election, we looked at 12 other candidates, well, 11 if we have to exclude Mr. Xavier Chungu, who, according to the Election Commission of Zambia, any votes for him were invalid. What we get to see is that you see that people national character and prove their message across the country. What have they been doing in reaching out to the different people who are across of Zambia? Because that is what is needed. If you are going to be contesting at presidential level, you need to make sure that your message is reaching the people there. You need to make sure that you are able to convince people there. And the numbers speak for themselves. As they say, numbers don't lie. And that will also come up as people get to hear the results being announced by the commission.
Well, there are new political parties that are coming in as new political parties participating in the participating for the first time in this election. You can see that they're getting some numbers. Independent, candidates. Hakainde Hichilema, of course, is taking the lead there with the NRPUP trailing behind. But what's also important, Chumweka, to note that is there are only 4 of these constituencies that have been announced, consolidated 4 of them. There's 226 constituencies in total that the commission must put together. Only 4 have been announced, and so we see what happens into tomorrow up until Monday. So that's what we know for now, and that's the information we can give you. 22,476 votes for President Hakainde Hichilema, and the NRPUP's Brian Mundubile is trailing behind with 14,388. 388.
So that's out of the 4 constituencies out of 226. So we're seeing President Hakainde Hichilema with 22,476 and Mr. Brian Mundubile 14,388. That is what the leaderboard currently stands at. And as Diamond Media will continue giving you these updates as verified by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. So that's the first set of results at presidential level announced by the commission. And as we carry on with the rest of the day today, we'll be able to give you more information around that. Well, you can see our very own Andrew Mwansa at the National Election Results Center there, being part of the team, the Diamond Media team present there to ensure that we give you this coverage and keep you informed all throughout this period. We continue with the non-stop broadcast as Diamond Media. We're calling it the Zambian Vote, and we'll be here live 24 hours until the presidential winner is announced. Remember, we're coming to you live on DSTV channel 271, GoTV channel 20, streaming live on our Facebook page, Diamond TV Online. We are also live on our YouTube channel, Diamond TV Zambia. You can follow us on our website for the live broadcast and coverage, elections.diamondtvzambia.com. We're also live on Musanza TV, that's channel 93 on Top Star. So you can follow us on any one of these platforms to keep yourself up to speed with the verified information as it happens. Cheswa, we'll take our break, but we do have the next team coming through to keep the viewer updated with all things the 2026 general election.
Well, we've got the next team coming up, but remember it's 24/7 broadcast. Our cameras are still on. And of course, we will be expecting a notice from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, as indicated by the electoral officer from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And we will continue giving you figures, updated figures, as verified by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. I'm Cheswa Peter Kapasa. We're still here.
And I'm Jumwega Chileshe. Remember, we'll also be giving you the updates coming through from the polling stations. We still have our reporters at the totaling centers of the different districts across Zambia, 116 districts, and we have over 100 reporters who are on standby 24/7 as well to give you the updates at National Assembly level as well as at local government level. And remember, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be announcing the results at presidential level from the Mulungushi International Conference Center. And this morning, we'll bring you the live update as to when we get the next results announcement from the Commission. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay tuned to Diamond Media. More coming up.